All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Woven Church today. We are so glad that you are here. Just a couple of housekeeping things for announcements. D&D is tomorrow night at 6:30 in the Sunday school room. So if you are interested in playing D&D, that will be tomorrow night. To note, we are pausing family dinners that are once a month for the summer. However, we are talking about going to different places like Chaotic Good or restaurants or something, so stay tuned for more details coming up there. I'm really excited today because our very own Danny is going to be talking with John about the art theme we've been going through this week. So just thank you so much for being here, regardless of your race, your ethnicity, your socioeconomic status, your gender identity, or sexual orientation. You're welcome and you belong here just because you're you. So today we're going to read another prayer on creativity, and it is called For Letting Go of the Work. God of the art that will never be seen. There is art that we offer up to the world, and there is art that exists only for itself. Let us be okay with this. Help us to remember the beauty of those things we've created that no one will ever gaze upon, that no one will ever hear or study or speak about. Remind us that there is value in creating even when it won't be consumed by another. May we reclaim a kind of private artistry. Let all of these projects come awake in their sacred hiddenness. May they find some manner of liberation by virtue of their secrecy. And in the absence of eyes on us as we create, may we grow brave, nearer to ourselves. Let us take risks that we wouldn't otherwise take, and listen for our own voice in the quiet. And in doing, may our artistry be refined and remade. Amen. Welcome, Danny, as he explains to us what's going on today.
Yay. So just wanted to give some small ground rules because I am giving you markers and I'm trusting you to be fun with them. So this week, art as life. In our daily lives, I bet a lot of the students here will probably say that, yeah, I use a writing utensil pretty much daily. I don't know if that would be applicable to a lot of people outside of school, but besides the point, writing is something that we do basically on the daily. It's a big part of our life. So provided here are different markers. Most of them are metallic. So there are some colors, and I think 2 black Sharpies. But yeah, feel free to doodle whatever comes to heart, comes to mind. The only 2 requests that I ask are no words, offensive or otherwise, just no words. Doodles only. And with the doodles that you draw, this is a church. Please make them church appropriate. That is all I'm going to say. I am trusting you. So with nothing else for me to say, let's make art. Yeah.
Be real.
Well, that wasn't
No,
Be
it
Real. No.
Could have been.
Could have been. But mine is acting really funky.
No.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. So great to have you here, Danny, this whole month. And, you know, this whole month was sort of a Danny brainchild. Art as, you know, since most of us are artists of some sort, made sense that we'd go down that path. And especially, I think, March had been pretty dark for us in a lot of the places we'd gone, and February for sure. And so this has been great just to have this part of our life, art, this month. So where did that idea come from? Where did all that originate?
Yeah, I really like the term that you used, that this was my brainchild, because it is very much my brainchild. Since graduating almost an entire year ago, which is wild to think about and wild to say out loud, but I had, when I was still at college, I had a pretty big crisis of faith that I'm still kind of dealing with the repercussions of. And through that, I was starting to experience another crisis of, well, if I'm not dedicating my entire life to God, what the heck am I supposed to do now? And it really came back to, well, okay, what is it that I enjoyed doing as a little kid? Creating art was the answer. And not just painting, not just like detailed things, but like messy things. Things that like are pushing the bounds of, well, this isn't really pushing the bounds in my opinion, but in some ways it is. Like, this is happening in a church that's pushing some bounds. At least it is for me.
And some of your art has been on the edge.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. John here is
Especially by
referring-
Asbury standards.
Yes. John was referring to my exhibit that I had my senior year, my art exhibit that was displayed on Asbury. And one piece was very much pushing a lot of limits.
Really, two of them. The hymn one and the skull one.
That's true. Yeah. See, I don't really see the school one as pushing bounds, but the hymn was very much pushing bounds. Yeah. I had taken pages from a Asbury hymnal book, rewriting the titles on some of the hymns, where I did use some profanity to.
Maybe a lot of profanity.
There was 3 specific instances of profanity, but the overall theme and message of that piece was very profane, yeah. So I guess it was a lot of profanity, but I digress. But yeah.
Well, I'm really interested in that idea because what she did was it was a collage of all of these pages ripped out of a hymnal, and so.
And it was an Asbury hymnal, too.
It was an Asbury hymnal taken without their permission, I'm sure.
I did get a permission from a fellow student who worked,
Oh, that's good enough.
so I said, good enough, yeah.
And then over this collage were words like, because it feels like a lot of times when we sing hymns or we say our platitudes in church, that they don't match up with life, with reality. And this was a juxtaposition in her art, my perception, a juxtaposition of the platitudes with this isn't true. This isn't true. This has not been my experience. This has not been my experience. And it hasn't been a lot of other people's experiences too.
Yes.
And the part that's amazing to me is historically there's this divide between the sacred and the profane. And there's a belief that one is right and true and the other is wrong. And this was this juxtaposition that said maybe the sacred and the profane are not to be separated. And it was really, I thought it was very powerful artistically.
Thank you.
In that way. Music, by the way, there's been a lot of traditions of sacred music, and even called profane music. And part of what we've done here at Woven is called into question that difference.
And it's been so great.
So for you, today is Art as Life.
Yes.
So for you, how do you think of art in relation to your life?
Yeah. There are three different categories that I place on art in my life. One is, I'm wholly using your notes because I'm blanking on all 3 right now.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes, art as tool, art as spaces, and art like God, which is interesting.
Let's talk about each of those.
Mm-hmm.
Art as God.
Yeah.
There's this phrase in traditional Christianity called God the Holy Other. And it's an understanding of God as, yes, in all things, but also holy. By holy, I mean WHOLLY. Holy other. Outside of all that is. So this is the holy other that created the Big Bang, that is outside of all that is known. And that is opposed to a really different understanding of God in all, through all. And both of them are talked about in the scriptures. So where do you land on it?
Yeah. Because of my crisis of faith that I am not in the middle of now, but is still very much present in my life, I don't really have much of a relationship with God as defined by Christianity. A lot of the times, to kind of help me deal with the fact that there is a spiritual side of things, I just call it spiritual, divine, but not God. But sometimes I do call it God, but it still makes me uncomfortable. But because I lack this relationship that I once had with the divine, I have been thinking about everything to do with God in a very conceptual way. And in the same way, I've been thinking about art in this conceptual way because I'm realizing that I want to create all the time. Like, I want my life to be a source of creation. And that, even as a minor in art at the school that should not be named, I never got a straight answer. Well, but I never, it's fine, it is what it is. But I never got a specific answer or a definition of what art is. Like, is art just painting? No, because there's music. Well, okay, is art just painting and like music, songs, stuff? No, theater. And then poetry, and then writing, and books, and performance art. Like, there's just so many...
Architecture.
Exactly, architecture. And like, we can go on and think about a billion other things that can be classified as art. But because there are so many different ways that humanity and people can express their creativity, can express their identity, their experience, their beliefs, their convictions, their fill in the blank here, because there are so many different ways that can be done, can we not say the same thing about God? Can we not say that the divine is, not just can be, but is experienced in so many different ways that we can literally spend hours upon hours just listing the ways that humans can experience the divine or the spiritual or God? Once again, can experience fill in the blank here. And yeah, so I don't have a good definition.
Well, so
of
one of my
art or
big
God.
questions in life is, can God be wholly other and in all things? Can they both be true? You know, part of what we're doing here is moving from the binary to the nuanced, from the binary to the complex. And that does feel like a more complex answer to
Yeah.
say yes.
Yeah, yes, and.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Would you feel comfortable with God being both? And now, I mean, your interaction now, you would say, is almost all in the God of everything.
Mhm.
Most Christians would say that their experience with God is only in the holy other.
That used to be my experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we would even talk about it in vertical terms.
Mhm.
Could you see yourself embracing both, or do you see yourself too granular to think of it in those terms,
Mhm.
but instead to think of it in these kinds of terms?
The way that I think about it is less binary than that, and I think the only way that I think that I can describe it without sounding absolutely insane is, I don't think that God can be both. I think God is just in everything. Like, I don't think that the divine can be separated and be entirely away from everything that is. It just doesn't make sense. Like, even when I was growing up and I believed in this more like vertical and horizontal model, it didn't feel like it explained it well. Like, it explained a lot of the experience and the existence that I had, but it still felt to me like something was missing. Yeah.
Yeah, so you would land squarely on God is, and this is scripture, God is in all and through all, the Celtic hymn. above me, below me, beside me, around me,
Within.
within me.
Yeah.
You would say all of that.
Yes. With a caveat of I can also see and understand why some, including myself in the past, had the experience of being completely away, where God was wholly away or wholly different, wholly whatever, WHO.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why?
So now connect art with me.
Mhm.
If God is in all, is that saying art is in all?
I think so. I think so.
So there's a very expansive art
Yes.
that you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, isn't fashion also an art?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Design.
Yeah. I mean, like everywhere you look, like you mentioned architecture earlier, this building,
That's right.
I would call it art.
Yeah, I would.
Because
too.
look at the different tones. How many shades of I don't even know what to call this color. Brown, gold, wood, I don't know. But like there are a million different shades
Mhm.
just in like one plank that you see.
Well,
An artist could paint that too.
and
and
then
if-
you put. Oh, go ahead.
And if a person would paint with as many colors as you see here, you would call that a painting, right? How is that not any different? Like that's what I would say.
And in the same respect, nature,
Yeah, exactly.
all of nature, you would call
Yeah.
art. I mean,
Yeah. There's a reason people like Monet painted the outdoors a lot.
Right.
And it's not just Monet. That just for some reason was the only name that came to mind. Van Gogh. Here's another one.
Sunflowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Starry Night.
Right, right. All right. So if we think of art as God in life, go to art as tool.
Yeah. Artist tool. Earlier when we were in your office, the picture, the example that came to my mind was art therapy. Like that is a whole field that people dedicate their entire lives to, is art therapy, learning how to use art to help people process, help people understand, help people heal. Like that, yeah. To me, it feels silly not to call art a tool because of that, and a million other things.
Well, and in relational terms,
Mhm.
how do you think of art in terms of relationship? I mean, and I specifically mean person to person.
Yeah.
Can art be a tool of relationship?
Absolutely. I mean, just look at what we've done. Like over the course of 3 weeks, a lot of us in this room, and a lot of people that aren't here today, collaborated on this piece right here. Like, hopefully, each one of us can look at that canvas and see a doodle or a gem or a splash of paint and say, I remember that. I did that. And like the physical nearness that we shared as part of creating this, that's connection too. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about it even in one more way, like in friendship. I'm wondering if there's any way to talk about friendship, art and friendship, as something more organic than actual physical art, or even
Yeah.
than music or dance. Can just a relationship be art?
I think so. Yeah, you're creating something. And
Yeah.
you're,
So go back to the definition, right? What are you going to call art?
yeah,
If it's part of it is creation.
yeah. And another place that my mind went to is performance art.
Yeah.
And performance art, I've seen some videos of artists presenting their pieces that moved me to tears. I'm forgetting the name of the artist, but she did this piece, or maybe it was her. Actually, it was two artists. They were together for a really long time, like they were partners. And they had split, divorced, grown apart, and after a number of years, they came back together to perform this piece of them literally just sitting across each other at a table and not saying anything, not moving. They didn't hug, nothing. They just sat and looked at each other. And I'm forgetting how long they did that because I did not prepare. Yes.
Anybody could sit and just look into her eyes as long as
Yeah.
they wanted.
Yeah.
She just stayed for days, weeks, and people came by the hundreds.
Yeah.
thousands,
Yeah.
And they just looked at each other.
I am so
But
glad
the
that you.
partner that she had split with
Yeah.
surprised her and showed up, right?
Gotcha.
That's what you're
Okay.
doing.
Yes, that is. Yeah. Wow. I can't believe my memory just failed me like that. I just completely forgot that it was part of a bigger thing.
That's right,
Yeah.
'cause that other story's really cool too.
Yeah.
Because they were on the Great Wall of China. They were
Right.
towards each other. So
Oh,
those two stories are really cool.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, not at
No,
all.
I'm glad you did.
How long
Yeah.
You could just stay 2
Yeah.
minutes, or you could stay for 30.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, like, just me watching a video, just a little snippet of that interaction, it moved me to tears because I could think of people in my life, of relationships in my life that I have lost. And I could picture myself in their shoes and think about, like, wow, I would have, with one relationship, I would have the same reaction. Or with a different relationship, I would flip out and completely lose my shit. Sorry. Stuff. Composition. Yeah. Yeah.
In music, you know, my field, there was this really big conflict in the 1800s between music for music's sake, who was the Brahms camp, this is the late 1800s, and music as a tool. So this would have been Wagner, and they had this incredible rivalry, and it had been taking place for hundreds of years and continued to the present day. But this idea of is music just for music's sake? Is art just for its own beauty, or is it as to be used as a tool? Is it to do something? So for Wagner, it was opera. So it was to tell a story. Or Richard Strauss, who never wrote anything that he didn't have a picture in his mind. As opposed to the composer who that has no picture in their mind, is just creating for the sound of it. And I mean, I think you're suggesting that art can be both.
Yeah. I mean, why limit art to just one of the two? That feels silly.
It,
And
and
I-
it does. In retrospect, it seems so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you were saying this, I was in my mind replacing the art concept with God. And I think the tendency that I have seen in a lot of religious people, there's this tendency to limit something as abstract or as big and fluffy. Not fluffy, but big and like indescribable as God. There's desire to make it smaller, make it more compact, make it more understandable, comprehensible. And I think that same tendency can be seen in relation to art and many other things too, but specifically art.
Yeah, I'm wondering
Yeah.
what that means for in our relationship with God,
Mhm.
for it to be just relationship with God for relationship's sake, and how much God has we use God as tool
Exactly.
for X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. To get what we want,
Yeah.
to get to how we want to feel. Yeah.
Wow. Because
Yeah.
we'd like to say that relationships are always magnanimous, always altruistic, like that they're always just in our love for the person. But I know that all of my motives are mixed. In every relationship I have, there are mixed motives. There are motives of just pure love. And there are almost always mixed in with that motives of this person makes me feel valuable.
Yeah.
This person gives me insight. This person does whatever for me.
Yeah. And I think if we were to only have relationships that are wholly out of love or wholly out of this desire to give and receive in return, both pictures lack something. They're not complete, they're not balanced, they're not whole, they're lacking. Like yeah,
Yeah, maybe it's okay for it to be complex.
absolutely. It's better that way.
Even in the most altruistic thing you can think of is a parent and a child. How a parent loves a child, you think of that as wholly in. Now, I know that a lot of your experience has not been this, but you could imagine a parent loving a child
Yeah.
without any other ulterior motives,
Mhm.
and then you tell the parent that you're queer, and all of a sudden you see, wait, there are a lot of other motives here.
Yeah.
There is a motive of, I want my kid to give me grandkids. I want my kid for me to be able to walk them down the aisle and wear the dress that I
Yeah.
wore. And all of a sudden, even in that most pure of relationship, you see how many other motives are
Mhm.
involved in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, third area, space.
Yes,
Art is
space.
space.
Yes. And I have blanked on what I wanted to say.
we use art as space, use as a tool all the time. We have, as you mentioned, art all over the building. You look back there, we're going to have more art in the building.
Mhm.
It's that kind of space, but it's also music space.
Mhm.
So our hearing, we have
Yeah.
music as art that fills that space.
Yeah.
We have every relationship, all of that kind of
Mhm.
space that art fills.
Yeah. Yes. When you think about the patterns of life that are in your day to day, actually, scrap that thought. It wasn't going where I wanted to go. Our houses, our places of work, our places of school, our places of worship are all spaces that we go to in a very physical sense, and we have physical experiences, and we can have spiritual experiences or intellectual experiences. Art, a picture on a canvas that takes up a small space, has the potential and has the power to be so powerful to move you in a spiritual way, in an intellectual way, in an emotional way, in a relational way, maybe even if in a physical way if you cry hard enough. Yeah, so art has this capacity, and this is just talking about a physical art like a painting. This is not even talking about words. This isn't talking about theater. It isn't talking about music. And I blanked.
Just
oh no.
with the space idea.
Yes.
In all of those ways. Well, let me go somewhere, and then
Yes.
if you think of it,
Yeah.
you circle back. It's been my experience that some people only experience art as creators of art, and others only experience art as appreciators of other people's art. And I wonder how you see yourself.
Yeah.
And of course, it's never exclusively one. Though, there are some that coming up to do this is like, no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't create art. I only appreciate.
Yeah.
And there's no problem with that.
Yeah.
How do you see yourself, though?
I can't be one without the other. Like as an artist, I can't create art if I'm also not consuming it. And once again, as an artist, I can't consume it without creating. I kind of think of myself as a pitcher of water in this way. Actually, no, as a pitcher of sangria. I think of myself as a pitcher of sangria. That's a more accurate picture. But like, if I am to pour out creativity, I can only pour so much if I am not filled up. And that's not just true in my creative life, it's also true in my like emotional and physical yada yada life too.
As a creator, do you find yourself being hypercritical of other art?
No.
Because that would be, I think, a lot of people's experience of other people's artists.
Yeah.
As artists.
I mean, I do have moments when I am, but as part of my overall healing journey, I do my best to push myself to give more grace, not just to others, but to myself also. And I've found that it's helpful for me to push my bounds of how much grace I can give to others, because that has a way of subconsciously making me push the bounds of how much grace I can give to myself. So the more grace I give to others, I inevitably give more grace to myself too. And so when I catch myself in moments like being hypercritical of others' art or other people's creation, I just sometimes very physically take a step back and be like, whoa, I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what their circumstances were in the moment when they created this. Because I know that I've got some shit pieces of art that I made because my life was crappy and I wasn't feeling good. And I am hypercritical of those pieces myself. So when I see a piece that I don't like, I just think, okay, well, I also make stuff that I don't like. Okay, moving on. Like, why waste time on that?
So, we aren't going to go here, but I'll tell you a thought for another day is there good art and bad art? I think that's a really good question. I mean, my tendency is to think there is no bad art, and yet we teach it. We teach drama and music and painting so that somebody can get better. How can you get better if there is no bad and good?
Isn't that such a binary way of thinking, though?
Well, no, I mean, even, yeah, right. But even as a spectrum, can it be better?
Yeah.
I don't know. But if it can't be better, then what are we doing teaching it?
Yeah.
So, a thought for another day that if you know the answer to that, I would love to hear from you because I'm not sure of the answer. Speaking of artists, one just walked in the room. Glad to see you. Danny, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for letting me do this.
Yeah, this is just wonderful. We're going to take a moment, and you can go to the back and get a cracker and some juice, and then we'll bring those up, and we'll do this together as an art piece. If that's true, what some of the things Danny was saying, we take this as an art piece, as a performance art. Hear us together take this representing Jesus, who some of us believe is the most loving of all. And in that love, I've got to believe that there's a connection between love and art. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm just convinced that they're connected. So we take this together in love and in art. And we drink this in the same way. I want to thank you for being here today. And Danny, thank you for sharing this whole month. Next week, art is activism. Resistance. Art is resistance. Nice. Nice. We'll be there. in Pride Hall next door here. Oh, much love to all of you. Great to have you all here. Thanks for being a part of this art piece today. And we'll create more art next week. Thank you, everyone.